Hello, everybody. This is Mandy at Laughing Grackle, and I hope your day has been going pretty good. Well, we are going to be having our black tonight, so let's go ahead and get started.
The Devil Upright. This card tells us that we have been choosing selfish choices, giving in to enticement of bad decisions. But remember that there are consequences for those bad decisions with extremely bad outcomes. Three of Cups reverse. Due to those consequences, there's conflicting thoughts on binging on said enticements. Since those things are too much of a temptation for us, it causes arguments about changes in our behaviors. The Fool upright. But the Fool means that we can start over with a new beginning, with new enthusiasm, curiosity, hopefulness and potential. The Sun reverse. This is our reminder to take notice of signs of excess pride, arrogance, and lies because they lead to prohibited advancement. Those actions are the beginning of the devil's cycle of addiction again.
The devil is about us choosing the selfishness and addictions and bad decisions over everything. And your consequences for those actions and decisions have really bad outcomes. And we have to see it for what it is. It's us deciding we're going to go ahead and do that anyway, even though we know that it's going to end badly. Three of Cups. Now, due to those consequences, there's kind of pinging back and forth, conflicting thoughts on overindulging, binging on these enticements. And we have to realize that these are going to be too much of a temptation for us. And that kicks up arguments with the people that are involved with this person. And it's over our behaviors. They start to realize there's a pattern. So they're noticing these patterns coming up, and they start calling us out on it. Now, the Fool. We've got to realize every day is a new beginning. And we can start over instead of going on about our way with these enticements. And we can have new enthusiasms and all of this stuff, and you have a potential to do good. Now, the Sun in reverse. This is kind of the things that the people in the Three of Cups are realizing. That they're signs of being extremely prideful and having arrogance and lying through their teeth about what they're doing. And And, you know, whenever they do that, they limit themselves because of that. And they're not able to move forward. They're stuck in this pattern. And those particular actions is what kicks off the devil again. And, you know, that's what you have to break, is that pattern. Because if this is on the addictions, or, you know, what we're over binging on and all this stuff, this is our worst enemy. Because you sit there, you get those thoughts going, then you come down, and then you're, you know, not just thinking about them anymore. We're starting to put them into actions. Well, then we come down here, and, you know, we're in full blown, you know, way off into left field into our addictions or whatever we're doing. And then we have the coming back up, which is, you know, you're dealing with, you know, the I'm sorry's, I won't do it again, you know, I'm gonna, you know, change and all this stuff. But, you know, they either become sober, or, you know, stop doing what they're doing to come back to the beginning again. But if this goes out again, you're going to have to go back through all that cycle again. So, you know, the best thing to do is to keep this clear. You know, if you're around people that are still doing it, that's putting it in your brain, and, you know, that's going to kick it back off again. So you really got to pay attention to your mindset, what you're thinking about, how are you going to be, you know, getting out of that cycle. So that's going to be my read for tonight. We are going to be having our cloud jumper tomorrow. So come on back and see me. Do like and shares, and I'll see you guys then.